Okay, Google, what's the fan favorite DreamWorks movie? Screw this. Let's tell everybody how wrong they are. Prince of Egypt is a movie that came out in 1999. It got decently positive reviews from critics, got nominated for an Oscar, and is now considered the best DreamWorks movie by animation fans. If DreamWorks was a crappy D-grade animation company, I would understand. DreamWorks, however, has produced some excellent animated features in their past and present. Considering how okay this movie is, it took me by surprise when people said it was the objective best DreamWorks movie. Really? This movie is not their best movie. It has some problems, and I will share them with you in this video. So, buckle in, everybody, because it's going to be a wild ride. First off, I would like to say that the first half is fantastic. It properly sets up the world of this movie and the motivations of the characters. It's enjoyable seeing Moses and Ramses II get along. Moses' change feels very realistic, and you can feel the emotions of the characters, and it genuinely made me excited for the second half. Of course, they had to screw it up. The movie tediously stretches itself for far too long. It's nearly 30 minutes longer than it should have been. Because of this, all the developing of the characters goes to waste. You may say, who cares? The first half was good enough. I care. The conclusion is always the most important part of the movie. If they botch that up, the whole movie will suffer. The whole bit of the Red Sea is an important element in the original story, but the movie would have been easier to endure if it was cut out. Being faithful to your source material is not a measurement in quality. The movie would have had a very strong conclusion if they ended it at the Angel of Death. For me, that's the conclusion worth watching. Second half has some other problems as well. It throws some random crap at the viewer and expects them to buy it. Most of the important plot elements in the second half are never explained. Saying that it left me confused would be a massive understatement. The movie left me with a bitter taste after watching this. All this amazing animation and this fantastic opening, just to end with a terrible second half. The music is really good too. It's just frustrating how this whole thing came out. Talking about the characters is not very easy. I said before that the second half screwed up their development, but it's screwed up differently for different characters. I'll just start by talking about how they were in the first half, so you get an understanding on how DreamWorks screwed it up. Moses in the first half was depicted as somebody who doesn't take anything seriously. He is shown racing over a dangerous bridge and getting his brother in trouble and not caring about people's feelings. Once he meets his family that he doesn't realize is his family, he starts taking things more seriously after a nightmare. I really like this character idea, and Moses' character is executed very well. In the second half, they drop all that development and make him the edgy guy with no fear, forgetting all development they had with his character, except for his development with Ramses II. But you can't feel Moses' side because his character doesn't have character anymore. They even tried to give him a romance, but this doesn't go anywhere, with the exception of a montage in the first half. Like with the rest of the first half, it's very well made, but that's the only memorable thing about their relationship. So to conclude with Moses, he has some great ideas for development in the first half that are executed very well, but they forgot to give him anything memorable in the second half. Ramses II, however, is the only thing of consistent quality throughout the entire movie. He's great throughout the whole movie. At the beginning, he is presented as the opposite to Moses. He takes everything seriously and gets angry at Moses a lot. They aren't showed as enemies, though, and this is something I greatly respect. Turning siblings into the worst of enemies is an overdone and tiresome cliche. Yes, they do that later, but it's very believable how they turn them into enemies. Ramses II says that the best part of the movie, he's detestable but sympathetic. He doesn't want to become a laughingstock, and will do anything to prove that he isn't, even if thousands of people are killed. This is what a villain should be, and is one of the best villains in animation. Even with an incredible opening number, Ramses II remains the best part about this movie. Okay, it's time to get to my main problem with this movie, and the reason everybody likes it so much. Its themes and morals. So why do I not like this movie? Or think it's just okay, because I do like this movie. That would go to what this movie wants to do. I appreciate its ambition. It wants to be darker and more serious than other animated movies, which is shown by adapting a Bible story. Unfortunately, the movie just ended up by being another believe in your heart story, a moral that needs to stop being used. It resulted into a movie that didn't age very well. It's also outclassed, that it wants to surpass Disney movies, but ends up feeling like one. It's wasted potential at its finest. But people are fine with this. If something looks darker but actually isn't, doesn't matter how crappy the movie is, they're gonna love it. The worst part about all of this is that it's completely overshadowed by The Hunchback of Notre Dame. A movie that is better in every way. The movie wants to do something amazing, but it restricted itself, and it turned out to be a major disappointment. Overall, The Prince of Egypt is not the best DreamWorks movie ever made. It's not even close. But do I dislike it? No, I do like this movie. The villain, the music, the entire first half makes me like this movie. But it screwed up what matters most, its theme and a proper conclusion. I do understand why people like this movie, though. Do I think it's a good reason? No. If I had to say one thing about this movie, it's how good the animation is. It's some of the best of the 1990s, but animation does not factor into my score at the end. Overall, I give The Prince of Egypt a 6.5 out of 10. It's not bad, but it's not really the best DreamWorks movie ever made. But I will say it's better than the other musical made by the company. Speaking of which, next week, I will be reviewing Trolls. The review should be pretty entertaining. Why? Because Trolls is terrible.